before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society.
Illuminati News.
Free and independent.
Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. 20 years of Illuminati Confessions, of Illuminati News with Leo Zagami here once again for a very special show. That's for sure. So first of all, let's thank our sponsors, those people who made this show possible, Daniel Estes and Siebert Ekstad. I hope I spelled it right. In any case, I like to give an applause to my sponsors because they are the ones who make this show possible, together with the people also who have purchased my books. Here we have a few of them, just so you know, they are always available. You can find the links at leozagami.com, or you can purchase them directly from Amazon. Okay, welcome everybody. The applause is now ready for my sponsors. Thank you so much for believing in this show. You can also support us by sharing this video on your social network of choice, and also by putting like and subscribing, of course, to my YouTube channel or my Rumble channel or my BitChute channel. So we seem to have a problem today on laying live the show on BitChute. It will be uploaded later on. We are no longer present, as you know, on Band of Video. It's been the end of an era. Since the beginning of May, we have no longer the possibility of uploading a show on our channel, and that's a little bit sad because we were reaching a lot more people that we have on these shadow banned platforms. But let's talk about what's happening in this rather chaotic week. Trump, of course, is a chaos magician of sorts, and actually amongst the revelations that have been disclosed in this soft disclosure, there was also a video in particular of an image which I had commented not so long ago. When I saw this image, I immediately said, this is something very familiar. This is the symbol of chaos magic. And to actually see the video now being released amongst the first installment of this very soft disclosure, here it is. This is the symbol of chaos magic. So, I mean, here we are. You have it right in front of your face. Then we have also a video where you see the windmills. Well, that's actually not far from where I live here in Palm Springs. UFO that happened to appear in, I think, September 2020. We were just at the beginning of that infamous pandemic, and there were UFOs flying around here. Okay, welcome everybody. Let's start immediately with the unverified Epstein note. Now, there has been people I even know involved with this whole thing who have actually confirmed to me the genuine nature of it. But having said that, I still have some doubts on the release of this specific note on the specifically in this week, apart from the fact that this note was never included in the official Epstein files, which is really very suspicious, but also the nature of this note, the origins of this note. I mean, this note was found by his former cellmate, who was a dirty cop who ended up in jail for having done all kinds of terrible things, and apparently inside a comic book he found this this note, and I'm going to show you the article because I've actually not so long ago been a guest of this lady, which is cited here. Here we have Kingdom of Zob event takes over Superman books, Mary Jane celebrates 60 years anniversary, Jeffrey Epstein suicide note found in graphic novel. And going down here, you see Jeffrey Epstein suicide note found in graphic novel, and it says here, so I look at the publicly available Epstein files provided by the government, and most of the scant emails that mention graphic novels are from Kickstarter, which Epstein was not pledging. He was just on the mailing list. There are two exceptions. The first is a long email thread about a cancer benefit that mentions Marisa Acocella Marchetto excellent 2009 memoir, Cancer Vixen. Now, I made a show not so long ago with Laura Eisenhower and Marisa Acocella Marchetto, so I wanted to know what she thought of the genuinity of this unverified note, because the strange thing about this note is that, we haven't yet received an official verification. I mean, why? However, it seems to be a little technical problem. If you give me a minute, because it's about the camera, and I think it's the heat, unfortunately. Hello, I hope that the problem is solved. If you are watching me now and there is still a little bit of fuzzy image, which seems to be the case, let's see if we can fix it again. Okay, so I hope that we have found a solution for this camera. Otherwise, I'm gonna move to the other camera. It seems that may be the only possibility to have a more clear image, but actually it's clearing up. It's clearing up. Still a little bit fuzzy, but it's clearing up. Okay, for those who are just tuning in now, we are having this simply a problem, which we might sort out simply by turning on another camera. It's not as high-tech, but it might be good enough to have a clean definition, because that's what we want. Okay, So, going back to the Epstein unverified note, it's kind of coincidental or not that it comes out in a week in which Trump is trying to do everything possible to shift the general attention. And he's doing it also with this UFO disclosure. However, the experts, the so-called experts, are not really pleased with this initial disclosure that has been offered by Trump, because in reality it's pretty disappointing. However, we had Tim Burchett who has said this is just the tip of the iceberg. Well, let's see.
Tim Burchett is with us with more. I got to first give you credit. You've been fighting for this information to be made public for a long time. Thank you for the fight that you're in. I think it runs a lot deeper. The most compelling information I saw was from our own astronauts on top of the videos. But you know a lot more than that, don't you?
I do, and I do want to personally thank President Trump for keeping his word to me personally. We had a long conversation, and I brought that up to him, and he said he was going to get it out there, and dadgummit, he kept his word. And, you know, but I want to warn people, though, this early stuff that we're seeing is not all of it, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. But Trump's having to fight, you know, he's having to fight the deep state, and it's just... Okay,
so Trump is having to fight the deep state. The problem is that every president we know, it's always working on a need-to-know basis when it comes down to these UAPs or UFOs connected to extraterrestrial intelligence. So here we are once again with, like I said, a very big nothing burger. Everybody was waiting some incredible revelations. Maybe it's just the first installment, but as the experts that were called in yesterday by Chris Cuomo, this is a little bit underwhelming.
Let's bring in two men whom I turn to in the fight for transparency when it comes to what the government knows about UFOs. Pentagon UFO whistleblower Mr. Lou Elizondo and News Nation investigative journalist Ross Coulthart. And I am fine for you guys to say, no, Chris, you're wrong. This is great. I'm too cynical about it. I want too much. I'm fine with that. I respect your opinion more than my own. Ross, I start with you. You know, what you did with Grush, that moved the needle. It created energy that either you want to ruin this guy Grush's reputation and his sterling pedigree and say that he's psycho, or you guys aren't telling us things, and you really move the needle with him, Ross. I feel like it wasn't paid off today.
Here we have obviously two gatekeepers. Both Luis Elizondo and Ross Coulthart are two gatekeepers. Now, I'm not saying that every gatekeeper is necessarily a negative subject. I mean, their connotation is simply being a gatekeeper. That's it. They seem, though, to have two different prospects. We will see Ross Coulthart, who was also here, a contact in the desert last year, saying that he found the whole thing a little bit underwhelming, while instead we see Luis Elizondo, who, by the way, behind the scenes is controlled by the Jesuits, who instead seems to have a much more enthusiastic outtake.
I completely agree with you, Chris. I must confess I was underwhelmed by today's supposed maximum transparency. I don't think it is maximum transparency. I'm talking to people inside the UAP alien craft retrieval and reverse engineering program who are deeply frustrated that the Pentagon is in charge of this release. They don't think that's appropriate. They also think that the Congress is having...
See, that is actually, by the way, those windmills, so that is Palm Springs. That is actually like 5 or 10 minutes from where I live.
The wool pulled over its eyes, and it's far too compliant.
And that is the symbol of chaos. Woo.
The national security state dictating what can and can't be released. I do think what's positive and what's optimistic is that there is, I'm assured from within the administration, a determination to be transparent as much as possible. And
as much as possible. But then after, I think that Luis Elizondo, it's a little bit honest in a way when he says people will be scared, we have to measure what we can release or not release. So it's almost like he's admitting, you know, both the nature of him and people like him, like David Grush, who used to work with him as gatekeepers. But the situation, of course, is of disappointment in general from the UFO world, which mostly knew the material that was released and didn't really astonish anybody.
In coming weeks, we are going to see more. But frankly, today's was a bit underwhelming. We still, for example, haven't seen any of the 46 videos that Representative Anna Paulina Luna with the UAP caucus is demanding be provided to Congress.
So, Lou, what's your read on this? What is the psychology of this disclosure? What do you think this means about what their intentions are?
Well, Chris, I tend to be slightly more optimistic.
So you see, here we have the optimistic guy, you know, who gives the optimistic vision.
I look at this from the perspective of history. Historically speaking, there's been other presidents in the past that say they are going to go ahead and be transparent with this topic, and they haven't been able to. So whether they didn't want to or they didn't succeed, this president, whether you like him or not, is starting to fulfill that promise. Now, with that said, I think it is rather underwhelming for a lot of folks who've seen, like myself, who've seen the videos, the high definition, ultra, 8K, high definition videos that do exist. Obviously, the grainy black and white can be a bit underwhelming, but I will tell you, though, I think it's a bit, you're asking me, why is the administration being kind of like a little bit slow?
Yeah, why? And now you hear what he says. Open your ears, because this part is very revealing.
With this, and I think it's a bit of a test balloon. I think they're dipping the toe in the water to see the reaction before they decide to take the high dive and cannonball into the deep end, which I'm told is going to actually happen. There's already been members of Congress whom I trust who've been told by administration officials that day is going to come. And also, we talk about the moon picture, which you pointed out. I think you're absolutely correct. When you look at that from the Apollo 12 mission, that was in the late 60s, early 70s, and we did not have satellites at the time orbiting the moon. And if you look at that statement, it said specifically, NASA said, hey, look, these might be real objects, right? These might be real objects. So we didn't have AI back then. We didn't have deep fakes back then. These are real photos taken from the surface of the moon. After NASA had spent decades saying nothing to see here, folks, oh, you know what? Turns out there's actually quite a bit to see.
Well, that is, I must say, the big revelation here. I mean, yes, it might partly be a nothing burger. It obviously has been done as soft disclosure for the moment, probably like Luis Elizondo said, to test the ground. There is going to be much more coming up. We're going to have a lot to discuss this summer on this specific subject. In the meantime, of course, everybody from the so-called disclosure movement is a little bit like, this is underwhelming. This is not really giving us what we expected. But patience, my friend, because, of course, Trump is also trying to distract. He started a war that he left basically in the middle. There is now a crisis which is simply reaching new levels of uncertainty, because today there is an article which I'm going to show you, which is clearing, is clearly telling us that especially when it comes to Asia farmers, this is an article of the Washington Post, the situation of the Strait of Hormuz being closed means not only of course, the fossil fuels, gas, oil, but also the fertilizers. And all this is threatening the global food supply like never before. I mean, people tell me, but why did you betray President Trump? No, there's nothing to betray. It's Trump who has betrayed us. And he has done it starting with the Epstein files, then moving into never-ending wars, not being able to stop that war between Russia and Ukraine, which maybe will be stopped now, because it seems that Putin today in his parade has said some important things. Let's see the parade. It's like once a year. It's called the Parade of Victory. It's dedicated to the victory over the Nazis. This year, though, it was only 45 minutes. His speech lasted only 9 minutes. And it wasn't what people expected from Vladimir Putin. It was a little bit low tone, let's say.
Государственный флаг Российской Федерации и Знамя Победы. Штурмовой флаг, водруженный бойцами 150-й Идрицкой стрелковой дивизии над куполом поверженного Рейхстага, ознаменовал долгожданную победу советского народа в Великой Отечественной войне.
Дорогие друзья, великий подвиг поколения победителей вдохновляет воинов, выполняющих сегодня задачи специальной военной операции. Они противостоят агрессивной силе, которая вооружается и поддерживается всем блоком НАТО. И несмотря на это, наши герои идут вперед. Рядом с российскими воинами рабочие и конструкторы, инженеры, ученые, изобретатели. Они продолжают традиции своих предшественников. Опираясь на современный боевой опыт, создают передовые, уникальные образцы вооружения, разворачивают их массовое производство. Но как бы ни менялись техника и способы ведения боя, неизменным остается главное. Судьбу страны вершат люди. Каждый вносит личный вклад в победу. Она куется и на поле боя, и в тылу. Твердо уверен, что наше дело правое. Мы вместе. Победа всегда была и всегда будет за нами.
Торжественное шествие войск возглавляет командующий военным парадом.
It's important to note that, of course, 45 minutes, the excuse was for security reasons, fearing drone attacks from Ukraine. However, Ukraine and Volodymyr Zelensky has actually respected the ceasefire, and there was no intention in getting back into the hostilities for one specific reason. There has been an exchange of about 1,000 prisoners on both sides, so that couldn't be compromised by simply breaking the ceasefire. I mean, 1,000 prisoners in a war that has cost Russia many people. I mean, we're talking here about maybe around 400,000 soldiers from the Russian side of things. Now, this scaled down version of the victory parade, and also his intention at the end of the speech to actually reach an immediate resolution seems to be actually, and he has already chosen his possible emissary with the European Union. He is actually seeing for the first time, he's admitting that this confrontation is really with the European Union, and for that reason, he wants to work with the former Chancellor of Germany to get to some kind of solution that could, of course, come in the next few weeks. Now, I know that because I have actually the information about it on an article which was published by Italian ANSA, not by a American news agency. So I'm going to show you the article in particular. Here we have it. Okay. And the article is, of course, in the Italian language, but I can briefly translate it for you. It says that Trump is proposing Schroeder as his representative because he wants to negotiate an end of the hostilities with the European Union. So that is, at least it seems, good news. The foreign minister has also welcomed the possibility of restarting diplomatic discussions also with the Americans. I mean, it seems like 350,000 men dying for Russia is really a big number. Some say even 400,000. So, I mean, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of victims. Calculating the population of Russia is almost certain that every single family in Russia has had somebody dying in this hideous war in Ukraine. So, for that reason, I think that there could be a chance for peace. So, give peace a chance. But this could be a real possibility. However, internet for some sources was closed down, for others was reopened after the end of this parade. The fact that they closed all communications within Moscow for the it lasted only 45 minutes, like I said, 9 minutes for Putin's speech. It was almost like, let's do this in the quickest way possible and without also all that display of weapons, which traditionally we have on the Red Square when we see all those, intercontinental ballistic missiles passing and all that. No, that this year didn't happen. So let's see what's going to happen next. In any case, another emerging threat this week has been instead the Hantavirus. Finally, we have the whole story that could be completely fake, like it was in the case of COVID and Wuhan and the whole narrative there that was created to cover up, of course, a much more sinister reality of something escaped from a lab. In this case, patient 0 has been identified, and this patient 0 visited apparently a hideous place because of his fixation as somebody, fixated with birds. He was a guy who was a scientist, apparently. Now he has a name. We know that he was the first one to die. Then the second person to die on a plane was actually his wife. But where do they say they got this virus? So this is the guy. He was 70 years of age, patient 0. This is the hideous place they visited in Argentina, known for bird watching, which is actually filled with rubbish in the real sense of the term. It is actually a place, it's a sewage paradise where birds go there, and it seems like they were obsessed with seeing these rare birds. And for this reason, they went into this, literally, this is a shithole. Nobody should ever go there. But these people went there in this mountain of waste, which, exceeds the limit established by the authority, because they wanted to see this bird. And apparently this place, which is called the Ushuaia landfill, is a pilgrimage place for bird watchers in search for the white-throated caracara bird, which is the one you are seeing here. Now, this guy, of course, died on that ship. That ship was not any kind of cruise. It was a $10,000 cruise for people who want to have a very particular experience with nature, because it goes into a whole tour. It left from South America, and now I give you this brief clip so you can have an idea of the next threat that seems to to be actually the next COVID for some, even if the authorities are saying there is not the same level of contagion.
A cruise of a lifetime tainted by a deadly outbreak. Medics approached the MV Hondius, anchored off Cape Verde, to fetch 2 confirmed Hantavirus patients and a close contact suspected of infection. The British man, Dutch crew member and German national are whisked away in full PPE to board planes bound for Europe for treatment. 3 passengers have died since the cruise ship set sail a month ago.
So you see, it set sail from Argentina. Apparently, patient 0 went to this wasteland where he contracted the virus without knowing. Him and his wife went on the boat. And this is the moment in which the captain of the ship announces the first death.
Morning, everybody.
The first the captain announced was a Dutch man.
I'm told by the doctor we're not infectious, so the ship is safe when it comes to that.
But the man's wife later also died.
Now, the wife died on a plane full of people that then went all over the place. I mean, we have now, for example, even in Italy, an alarming situation, because there were people on the plane with the wife of patient 0 who are now panicking because it takes several weeks to develop this hantavirus. So this is a week in which we saw an unverified Epstein note, a soft UFO disclosure, and now on top of this new threat of an emerging virus.
Couple believed to have been infected while birdwatching near a landfill site in Argentina. Passengers say the cruise carried on as normal.
I was very unhappy because we didn't take the right cautions for the first couple of weeks.
The hantavirus typically spreads from rodents. Officials say the rare Andes strain, the only type known to cause human-to-human transmission, is behind 2 of the cases so far.
This is not the next COVID, but it is a serious infectious disease. The risk to the general public is low.
Okay, so these are the words from the World Health Organization. We also learned that they can never be trusted, but I mean, who knows? It seems like the distractions are many, and of course the system, the Epstein regime, needs distractions, and at the moment it seems like the hantavirus could be another distraction.
Australians are among the 140 still on board. None are believed to be showing symptoms. As the ship sails for the Canary Islands.
Now, the thing I don't understand about this whole thing, the ship was in the island of St. Helena, if I don't get it wrong, and that's where this expedition vessel, the MV Hondius, stopped on the island there on April 24. Now, they disembarked in this island, the island of St. Helena. The outbreak, which of course is now identified, had probably already spread. So now they're going to the Canary Islands, and of course in the Canary Islands we have most of the local population upset about having anybody from this ship disembarking there. It is, of course, very dramatic for people living in these islands. I can understand. I mean, that it can be really dramatic for these people. So let's see what's going to happen next in this new situation. But at this point, let's also discuss other important topics of the day. As you have seen, we have now this Pentagon UFO files, which are almost a nothing burger. But like I said, they also released with suddenly, they took out almost of their, of their illusionist hat, a rabbit, in this case, the note of Jeffrey Epstein saying, goodbye, no fun, not worth it. I'm just going to take my life. Now, I've published a book about Jeffrey Epstein, a book, The Rise and Fall of a Frankist Monster, which I suggest you all read. There is more and more people who are understanding the threat of the Sabbatean Frankist milieu. There has been also now very popular Chinese professor who goes online and is very popular, who is also embracing the fact that Epstein was part of the Sabbatean Frankist milieu, confirming what I already wrote. There is actually already other writers who are publishing books referencing to the possibility that Epstein was involved with the Sabbatean Frankist cult. So, I mean, definitely when you get a Leo Zagami book, you get something that it's trending in a way, trending and showing you things that maybe hypotheses that other people didn't have, and that now are, of course, gonna more and more become mainstream. Like I said just a moment ago, though, all these distractions come among a growing crisis, a crisis that every American like me is feeling, just going to the gas pump every day or going to the supermarket. This is going to be what The Guardian, which is a British newspaper, defined as a spiritless summer. Americans feel squeeze of costly fuel amid busy travel season. So there is soaring oil prices that have left many Americans with higher costs and fewer options for travel amid the Iran war. We know that the jet fuel is even more expensive than ordinary fuel, and in fact, half of the flights in Europe this summer might be cancelled. Somebody is telling me, Leo, the level of Dr. Estley is overwhelming every Dr. Estley, I read some of his books. I don't know him personally, but I read some of his books. And I advise all of you to do the same. I mean, sometimes it's better to read books of people rather than just seeing a clip here and there on the internet. And he talked extensively, I remember, about the Bilderberg Club in one book, which I read, and the other also of the Tavistock Institute, always with very, very interesting and brilliant analysis. Though, of course, we might differ in our personal position, because I think he comes from a more leftist inclined background. Other questions that people are, I must say, we have a lot of people tuned in today, which is nice. And people are asking me questions. So let's put on here on this side the chat boards so it can become also more clear what we are answering. It says, Leo, please explain what kind of connection link may be between the Hantavirus name and the ship name Omnius. I am talking about possible links such as the Moderna side effects being Hantavirus. Well, I mean, I'm personally not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert, and I have great respect for people who have. I mean, my father was himself, aside from being a psychiatrist, he was also medical. I mean, he was a doctor. So I have a lot of respect for people who know about these kind of things and who have analyzed them in a professional way. If you remember, during the first couple of years of the pandemic, in fact, I conducted myself along with somebody who, of course, was directly involved by being himself a medical expert, but myself I'm not. So some other people telling me Epstein Tavistock book is good. Yeah, I would say that Tavistock, the book that Epstein did of Tavistock is good, but if you want to have an even more in-depth analysis on the same topic, I will strongly suggest to read volume 11 of my Confessions, because I have, like I said, read, analyzed very well Epstein's book. I find it very entertaining, but is lacking, I think, on certain technical elements, which I brought in instead my own analysis in volume 11 of my Confession, which is dedicated to mind control, dedicated to the art of propaganda. We have also just been told that, of course, now suddenly MK Ultra is back. MK Ultra, which apparently is back in the news because suddenly there is a hearing that that's bringing up some of the dirty secrets. However, one thing must be said: the people responsible for MK Ultra are long gone. So some of these attempts are made at times only to distract us even further. I mean, when it comes down to the UFO disclosure, the UAP as they call it today, it was pretty disappointing, as we stated earlier.
Our astronauts are seeing it. So I do think it was telling. No, it's not the grand reveal that I hope would happen immediately, but I think it's going to take a little time. I think this is an excellent step in excellent first step in the right direction, and I am cautiously optimistic that as such.
So somebody is asking me here in the chat, and today I'm actually answering you in the chat. It says, Leo, I know it's kind of off topic, but can you speak your opinion about Planet X and Nibiru? I would appreciate. I think it's related to this UFO disclosure. That's the red sky at the sunset. Well, there was, as you know, a journalist in Italy, Cristoforo, I think Barbato, who dedicated a lot to this subject. The Secretum Omega. He apparently had some sources within the Jesuit astronomers who gave him some information regarding that. However, we haven't we didn't see something that manifested. You know, I mean, everybody was connecting this Nibiru with 2012, and in the end, nothing really happened. So. Thank you for the question, but I hope that we are given maybe some more interesting food for thought, because at times these kind of things tend to be nothing burgers. somebody is saying here, Leo, would you will like your input regarding prime meeting yesterday in Toronto between Obama, Alex Soros, and okay, I heard about this meeting that you're talking about. The meeting actually saw the participation of the current member of the Italian opposition, the head of the Italian Democratic Party, Schlein. She actually participated to this meeting. It really seemed like a big farce in which leftists were simply, worshipping Obama like he was still the number one leader. I mean, of course, for the leftists, Obama will always be, some kind of guru. But I don't think there was anything truly groundbreaking discussed in that kind of situation. It was just a moment for the left to reassess their situation. They have, of course, an opportunity here. They know it. They know that with the midterm elections, with the current economical situation, with what we are witnessing in the White House, the sense of uncertainty, the promises that Trump has broken one after the other, the left has, of course, an opportunity. We have to be honest about that. The left has an opportunity, and the opportunity is given by Donald J. Trump. J. Trump is a traitor to the American people, and that's what's happening at the moment. Whoever still thinks that Trump can help America, it's eluding themselves, because Trump is simply helping his own pocket, and at the same time it's trying to help the people who put him back there in the White House, and that's why he didn't want to do more with the Epstein files. I think that now it will be really important to listen what Marjorie Taylor Greene said a few days ago when she was visiting Ron Paul's Institute, and in this conference she came up with what led her to break up with Trump, which is really, I share what she says because I think that she's one of the few honest politicians that we have here in the United States.
When we started talking about releasing the Epstein files, I'm like, this is a no-brainer. President Trump will just roll them out on a big cart himself. Stacks and stacks and stacks of the Epstein files, because obviously Bill Clinton is all in there and Hillary Clinton. That's what I had been told all along, right? Well, it was the most shocking thing when I sat in a conference meeting and I learned that the president didn't want to release the Epstein files. I was like, what? Yeah, come to find out, he was very much against it. So we kept on trying and kept on talking about it. And then the president told Mike Johnson, no, do not bring that resolution to the floor for a vote. He told the Rules Committee, and Johnson told the Rules Committee, no, you will not mark up any bill in the Rules Committee that will allow the Epstein files to be released. And the resistance built and built and built. He told Pam Bondi, don't release the Epstein files. He told everybody, don't release the Epstein files. So we persisted because that's what we promised. That's what we campaigned on, transparency and accountability, especially to pedophiles. How is that complicated? So it got to be such a gigantic amount of resistance coming from the president and the speaker and everyone, the DOJ. I said, fine, I'll do the unthinkable. I'll go over there and I'll sign my name on a discharge petition that all the Democrats are signing their name on. Talk about crossing the aisle. Me, a general in the MAGA army, crossing over to sign my name with a bunch of Democrats. Yeah, I did. Because women were raped when they were 16 and 14 years old. And he was a convicted pedophile, and we knew there were many with him. So I signed my name on the discharge petition. Oh, did I get my name on the naughty list then? Let me tell you. That became a real issue at the White House. Well, I'll never forget it. I was in my office in the Rayburn building, and I got a phone call from the president. And he was at the White House, and he wanted to talk to me about the discharge petition that I'd signed my name on. And he said, Marjorie, you're going to have to take your name off that discharge petition. We can't let, this is a hoax. We can't carry this. This is a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax.
It wasn't a hoax. We all know that there were real victims. Somebody here says, of course, they seem to be Italian, so they're not American. And say, I think you're missing the real truth behind the current geopolitical scenario. I wonder if 33 Freemason master can see the world politically real with a higher view. Sorry, my friend, but you are getting it completely wrong. The scenario is very clear here. We have, of course, Russia, China, and the United States of America. And whatever Trump has been doing has simply helped China. And that's why he's going to China now. And maybe something is going to happen at a global level simply because China, which is going to now see a visit by Donald J. Trump, is not happy with what is going on, of course, especially with the Strait of Hormuz, with the passage of fertilizer, oil, and gas and everything that, of course, is undermining their own economy. And then at the same time, we have what is happening between Ukraine and Russia. And at a global level, you have to tell me, how did Donald J. Trump help us Americans, not you Europeans or you living on the other side of the world who still think Trump is the savior? He's not any savior. And we Americans have realized that, unfortunately, at our own expense, because we are paying for more for everything, and we are not happy with the way he is doing his presidency, because he has basically betrayed every single promise in the book. And at the same time, he's thinking that the biggest, most important thing is to finish his ballroom. Who cares about his ballroom? He should release the Epstein files unredacted rather than any UFO disclosure. Then we can go on with a full-on UFO disclosure, not a soft UFO disclosure, not a UFO disclosure which is really missing the point. But let's get back to Major Taylor Greene.
And we've got to just put this away and stop doing this. And he said, my friends are going to get hurt. He said his friends would get hurt if we release the Epstein files.
Those friends are the same friends which is helping every time he announces that he's close to a ceasefire, he's close to interrupt hostilities. He does that usually to maneuver the stock market as it closes on a Friday and then reopens on a Monday. And he does it to make his friends, the Epstein regime, richer, not the Americans. Did you get rich? I mean, I want to ask simply this question to you, Americans, not the guys who are falling from the rest of the world, because who cares about them? America First was about America first, never about Europe, never about other places first. It was about us first. And unfortunately, we have been put last. Because like Major Taylor Greene herself said, the moment in which Trump arrived for the second presidency, he gave the possibility to every single head of state coming from abroad to have more than what we have as Americans here.
He said, Marjorie, these are good people. These are people you know at Mar-a-Lago. People in Palm Beach, they're going to get hurt by this. And I said, Mr. President, people have been hurt. These women have been hurt. I said, have you talked to them? I said, you should talk to them. You should have them in the Oval Office, Mr. President. You have everybody in the Oval Office. You have sports teams. You have world.
But Trump is in the hands of the Chabad-Lubavitch movement, which is in the hands of the Sabbatian Frankists, which are basically the people which aided the rise and then, of course, the fall of Jeffrey Epstein. Because if it comes out that now he indeed suicided himself, it's simply because he was brought to suicide himself. He was pushed into that direction by people who, of course, were associating with him first, but started to take a distance from him when he saw the overly, the way things were turning out. And just recently, King Charles went back to England after visiting the United States, and he's only a few miles from his brother. He didn't even bother to visit his brother because he's so embarrassed about the situation. Having said that, King Charles disappointed also the victims of Jeffrey Epstein, who did ask for a meeting that could have showed another image for the royal family. Instead, now we know for sure that these people are always on the wrong side of history, because they are the ones who have covered up all these pedophiles. And let's not forget, like I explained in Volume 8 of my Confessions, King Charles' best friend with Jimmy Savile, one of the biggest pedophiles in history, let alone Jeffrey Epstein, who was connected to his brother. I mean, these people are one worse than the other. They are all compromised, and we need to realize that.
Leaders, you have Al-Qaeda terrorists that are now leading Syria. You have Mamdani. I mean, you have everybody in the Oval Office. Surely you can have these women who were raped as teenagers. Talk to them. I talk to them all the time. As a matter of fact, many of them voted for you. That's what I told them. They voted for you. Epstein victims voted for Donald Trump. And he wouldn't have anything to do with them. And he told me his friends would get hurt. And I said, I'm not taking my name off the discharge petition. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Because this crosses party lines. It crosses, as a matter of fact, it crosses all the lines.
Yeah, I mean, that is the real truth here. It's not about partisanship. It's not about saying the left is better than the right is better than the left. We are all being played by the Jesuits and the Sabbatean Frankists behind the scenes. We are all being played. So, we can fight against each other. But the truth is, the victims are real. The victims are real. We like to have a deeper and thorough investigation in the Zorro Ranch, something that never happens, because every time they go to the Zorro Ranch, it seems that something, is missing. And so then they delay any possible thorough investigation of a place which apparently hides buried dead bodies. We know that Jeffrey Epstein bought tons of acid. This acid could be used to, of course, melt bodies, destroy any evidence. What happened to all the evidence that Epstein hid in some locker rooms spread across the United States of America? I mean, it is really incredible to see that there is still people who believe in, the rubbish of the QAnon movement. I had published a book in 2022 in which I finally exposed the whole psyop behind the QAnon movement. And still, to this day, there is people who believe this rubbish. I mean, the premise is, that they are pedophiles and that there is an elite that does certain things that we have also might use also code words that we related in the past to Pizzagate. That's a possibility. The fact that Podesta, Hillary Clinton campaign chair, was a pervert who loved Marina Abramovich spirit cooking. These are realities. But the problem is that the spread of the QAnon conspiracy was actually aided and abetted by Jeffrey Epstein himself. This came out in the Epstein files. And there is still people, who say, oh, no, but we have this other revelation, this promise of a great future with the Trump. No. These are people who believe in all kinds of nonsense. But we have to be realistic.
When it comes down to victimizing some of the most innocent people in America, these were young girls that were teenagers that desperately wanted to be models one day. They wanted to be seen as beautiful. They wanted to be rich. They wanted to be famous. And of course, every teenager wants things like that. And they were victimized by Ghislaine Maxwell and others. And they were victimized by the richest, most powerful men, not only in our country, but in the world. And they were used by Jeffrey Epstein as sexual tools for his own satisfaction and his friends' satisfaction. To actually be asked by the President of the United States to back off and not help these women, that's when MAGA died. That's when the entire thing shattered for me.
And for me too. And remember, there is still people, though, who embrace the rubbish of influencers like Juan O'Savin, who doesn't show his face, who is always in disguise, who people still suspect he might be somehow the resurrected JFK Jr. What kind of problems do you have in your mind, ladies and gentlemen? Those people who follow the QAnons of the situation, the Kennedy QAnon influencer, Juan Sabin, have lost their own mind. Leo Zagami has been here for 20 years. Remember that QAnon didn't exist 20 years ago, and we were better off. We had a great truth movement. There was me, Alex Jones, David Icke. Yes, of course, we could also at times not agree with everything. We could actually have, some parts of this truth movement who had different ideas. But with the arrival of the QAnon psyop, there has been a whole generation of people who has lost their minds. Q-tards, unfortunately. And remember, a book like this gives you the right understanding of the whole thing. So I strongly advise you get volume 7. I strongly advise you get The Rise and Fall of a Frankish Monster. I strongly advise you get also the last installment of my confession, which is volume 12, to also understand what's happening also with Pope Leo. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you to Christian White, who has actually donated as we were doing the show. Thanks to Daniel Estes. Thanks to Sievert Hestad. I want to also thank the people who purchased the Zagami Family Cookbook. The Zagami Family Cookbook, guys, is a unique way of transforming your kitchen in a 5-star Italian restaurant. These days, we can't really afford going out any longer. It's impossible. But we can still have a great meal. You can still cook a great meal for your husband or for your wife. It's a great experience to cook. It actually gives you something. And there is some great meals and also some great photos. You can learn also how to make pizza, how to make fresh pasta. Check out the Zagami Family Cookbook. I'm, in the meantime, trying to convince my wife to do a volume 2. In the meantime, I'm eating the specialities that maybe will make volume 2. But in the meantime, guys, get volume 1, which is a great book if you haven't yet. And all the best. We will see each other next Saturday, God willing. And we will also have a great surprise for you in the next few weeks before the end of the month, the publication of my new book. Is gonna be, guys, a book. I mean, I've been working on it. It's an investigative journalist job, which I've conducted thoroughly. I've also interviewed experts and so on, and I can guarantee you will be pleasantly shocked by what's coming next. So prepare. It's not Confessions. Like we said, the last volume of Confessions is volume 12. There is not going to be any longer any Confessions, but it's simply another essay digging deep in one of the subjects which I've at times analyzed during my Confession series, but which, of course, you know, the mission of my new series of essays is to bring topics like I did in the case of Jeffrey Epstein, specific topics, and then dig deeper and deeper and deeper and bring out things that no other author or researcher brings out. So I'm looking forward for that. And we will see each other next week. Of course, depending on the sponsorship, we might even bring you an extra show, but that depends on you guys. So keep on supporting the Leo Zagami Show with the purchase of books or with your donation. Take care. God bless you all.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to
It's a UFO January here in Palm Springs.
Shit.